Ian Brady tells 5 News he is dying. The Moors murderer, who is one of Britain's most reviled men, says he's bedridden and his health is getting worse. But the family of one of his victims says he should finally reveal what he knows. Also, councils struggle to care for those who are elderly or disabled or simply vulnerable. So, will you have to pay more? Let us stay. European immigrants go to Downing Street to ask the Prime Minister not to kick them out. La La Land leads the pack as the Golden Globes nominations kick off the awards season. And could the Great British Cod and Chips be on its way out to make way for Squid? Hello, welcome to 5 News. I'm Matt Barbett. He is one of the country's most reviled men, serving life for killing 5 children in the 1960s and consistently refusing to say where the body of one of them is buried. Now, the Moors murderer Ian Brady has written to 5 News to say he is dying of a lung and chest condition. The serial killer claims he's been bedridden for 2 years and that his illness is now terminal. But the letter has been condemned by the family of one of his young victims, as Peter Lane reports.
Few crimes match the horror and depravity of Ian Brady's. The name alone, Moors murders, etched on the country's memory. Now, from the confines of his secure hospital, in a 2-page letter sent to 5 News, the reviled killer claims he's dying. Ian Brady writes, "I'm still bedridden and have been for over 2 years. The lung and chest condition is terminal." Terry Kilbride, whose brother John was murdered by Brady in 1963, thinks the letter is nothing more than an attention-seeking mind game.
That's all it is, trying to get into people's minds, especially the families. And it is a game with him, I think. It is a game with him, even to the point where he could be very, very terminally ill and on his deathbed.
John Kilbride was the second of 5 children to be murdered by Ian Brady and his girlfriend Myra Hindley. They buried some of the bodies on the moors near Manchester. With Hindley dead, only Brady can reveal where the last remaining body is, that of Keith Bennett. For over 50 years, Keith Bennett's body has remained hidden somewhere on these moors. So for the families of the victims, there's only one thing Ian Brady should be writing about: the location of Keith's body. If he really is terminally ill, what's your message to him with regard to that secret?
Just let us know where Keith is. Why take it to the grave?
The Secure Hospital and Ministry of Justice won't comment on Ian Brady's claim that he's dying. If he does take the secret of the hidden body with him, it'll be a final act of twisted control. Peter Lane, 5 News.
Plans have been revealed to raise taxes to help solve the funding crisis in England's social care system. Health bosses say too many elderly, ill and disabled people are missing out on vital care because of a huge shortfall in funding. So local authorities could be allowed to plug that gap by putting up council tax. As Layla Hayes reports, though, some are warning that'll hit the poorest areas the hardest.
Here at Norton House in London, elderly residents receive good, quality care. While some here pay privately for that care, others rely on help from their local council. But care providers now say a lack of social care funding means many care homes are at crisis point.
If we don't get this money in social care, we will see more and more services going out of business. We will see people being left in hospital because there is nowhere for them to be discharged. We will see a system that will be creaking at the seams. And what we'll see is loads of people who are not getting a service. It is that serious and it is that immediate.
Latest figures show 300,000 fewer people are getting the help they need than 6 years ago. That means 1.2 million people are receiving no help to carry out essential tasks such as getting out of bed. And councils warn social care could face a funding gap of at least £2.6 billion by 2020.
It's now thought the government is considering raising council tax to plug the gap in social care funding. But critics say asking taxpayers and councils to pick up the bill is unfair and simply won't work.
At Norton House, they say council tax rises could lead to greater inequality.
We believe that the dangers of doing it by local authority level is it becomes a postcode lottery, because the people who are in most need of state-supported care are potentially the people that are going to face the largest council tax hikes to pay for it. And we think that's utterly unfair and just wrong.
Today, the government said it's committed to ensuring affordable, dignified care.
I am not complacent. We understand that the system is under pressure and we acknowledge and accept that. That is not the same, Mr Speaker, as saying that there aren't things that we can do in terms of quality provision to manage it better.
Putting up council tax is unlikely to be popular, but with an ageing population and more demand for care homes like this, the government may feel it has little choice. Layla Hayes, 5 News.
A man has been arrested in south-east London after allegedly stabbing another man while shouting "Death to Muslims." It happened at Forest Hill Station. Witnesses say the attacker also shouted "Go back to Syria." Police say they're not currently treating it as terror-related. 6 people have been arrested on suspicion of terrorism offences during a series of raids across the country. 4 men from Derby, a man from Burton-upon-Trent and a woman from London are being questioned by police. Counter-terror officers are also searching several houses. And the neo-Nazi movement has become the first right-wing group in Britain to be banned as a terrorist organisation. The Home Secretary described National Action as racist, anti-Semitic and homophobic. It means that being a member or inviting support for it will now be a criminal offence. They are the rulers of the nation's most popular sport, but the Football Association has been condemned by a group of its former bosses. They say the FA is run by elderly white men who do not represent English society. One senior minister has told 5 News that unless it's reformed, it can't sort out the sexual abuse scandal that is surrounding the national game. Our chief correspondent, Tessa Chapman, has more.
The FA is under fire again, this time over who runs it and how. 5 former bosses describing in a letter those in senior positions as white, elderly men who show vested interests in transigence and short-termism and gridlock decision-making. It is little wonder the authors conclude that English football is out of balance. Greg Dyke signed the letter to the Culture, Media and Sport Committee. He quit as FA chairman this summer and has a clear message for MPs who've criticised the organisation for years.
If you want change, you're going to have to legislate. If you don't want change, then it's time to shut up, really, because there's no point keep whinging and not doing anything. In my time as chairman, I had 2 ministers of sport tell me that if we didn't change, they were going to change it. And I said to both of them, the trouble is, nobody believes you.
The FA Council, which votes on policies, made up of 120 members to represent all of football. 2/3 are over 64, 6 are women, 4 are non-white. Then there's the FA Board, made up of 5 representatives of the professional game and 5 of the national game.
Oh, it's just away from Mane.
Critics say the rich and powerful Premier League has too much sway, that independence is essential to address diversity in sport, a lack of English players and managers, and crucially, child abuse in football, currently being investigated.
When it comes to that report, back on that investigation, we want the FA to have the power to drive through any necessary changes and reforms that are recommended. And therefore, for the FA to be a strong, independent regulator for football, I think it requires those powers to be able to do that efficiently.
The current chief executive arrived at work today on the defensive.
I understand the frustration, but the FA is in a process of reform right now to comply with stated government objectives. Thanks.
Many would say football and politics shouldn't mix, but they might have to bring the FA into the modern day.
And Tessa, how is this linked to the current child abuse scandal that is engulfing football?
Well, it's not mentioned in the letter, but the timing is interesting. If there is a time for the FA to be strong, surely it is now. There are now 83 suspects and 98 clubs involved in this inquiry into the child abuse scandal. Dario Gradi, who is the director of football at Crewe Alexandra, which is at the centre of this scandal, has been suspended by the Football Association this weekend, pending a top-level investigation. He denies any wrongdoing and says he will help the FA's review. That is growing in scope and scale all the time.
OK, Tessa, many thanks. Now, in under 6 weeks' time, Donald Trump will officially become the new President of the United States. For many, the idea still seems pretty shocking, but it's easy to forget that more than 60 million people in America voted for it to happen. One key group that swung the election came from the so-called Rust Belt, a once powerful industrial part of the US that has suffered major decline. Julian Drucker has visited Michigan, which voted Trump by just 10,000 votes, to see how people there feel about their president-elect.
Donald Trump told the people of Michigan that previous presidents had forgotten them. So at the ballot box, they remembered him. Part of the so-called Rust Belt, few places in the United States have been corroded as much as this, where the factories and the jobs have slowly disappeared. In the city of Jackson, those with long memories have charted the closure of each big company.
Goodyear, Clark Equipment, Kelsey Hayes, Harvard Industries, Mechanical Products, Plastigage. Plastigage was the other one. Yardman.
Denise told me she lost her job at the nearby boiler factory during the global financial crisis.
And devastating. It was my livelihood. I mean, after I lost that job, I had to work 2 jobs. You know, it's devastating. I mean, I want to retire when I'm 62. That's why I'm working where I'm working now. I'm self-employed right now.
They heard Mr. Trump's pledge to make America great again. And they're passing the time until it happens.
I think that times are hard. We've lost all of our industry, and all we can do is hope for the best.
Is he going to make things better, though? Is he going to make America great again, as he says?
God, we can only hope so.
The world's biggest manufacturer of brake pads for cars was based here until a few years ago. The company's president blamed the closure on globalisation. So can Donald Trump really take on market forces and restore jobs here?
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
At this local meeting of the Republican Party in Barron County, they are gearing up for America's new era. And a president who'll keep his promises, they claim.
We believe he can do it, and that's why we're excited about it. We're glad that finally we got somebody who knows how to run a business, that knows that what it takes to bring manufacturing and businesses to a community.
In his campaign, it was all, lock her up about Hillary Clinton. Now he says he's not going to do that. I mean, are you disappointed?
I don't think people care about that. I really, really don't. And what people really do care about is they care about their jobs, jobs for their kids, and jobs for their neighbor.
As stupid as the things that comes out of his mouth, we're glad that he's saying it because we at least know it's coming from here. It's not scripted. It's not something that's a career answer.
But so many careers are needed in the Rust Belt. Donald Trump's successor as president may well be determined right here. Julian Drucker, 5 News, Michigan.
Still to come on 5 News. The musical that's singing all the way to the Golden Globes.
Not even a tiny bit.
It's got to be cod if it's with chips. It can't be squid and chips.
Yeah, why we all might have to get used to a few changes at the local chippy. Squid, anyone? We'll see you after the break. Welcome back. You're watching 5 News. Now, the Prime Minister has been urged to let immigrants from the European Union stay here in the UK after Brexit happens. Theresa May is refusing to guarantee the status of nearly 3 million EU nationals unless the rights of Britons in other countries are also confirmed. But a panel, including both Leave and Remain campaigners, have called that morally wrong, as Olivia Kinsley explains.
Shiner UK in Bristol has been distributing roller skates and skateboards for 40 years. It's a British family business with some non-British EU workers. Their future here is currently unclear.
Hi, I'm Lucas. I'm from Poland. I came here about 1 year ago.
Why should you be allowed to stay?
Because I think it's mutual interest for me and British people to me stay in here, because I not trying to use benefits or steal any money from the government budget.
The government says it wants to protect EU workers' rights, but only if European member states protect those of British workers in return. That leaves migrants here in limbo and at Downing Street, demanding guarantees.
We're worried about status after Brexit, that whether we'll be able to stay in the UK, whether we can continue building our lives here, or whether we might have to go home. And this is not a home for many of us anymore, because home is here.
Back at China UK, Sonia's life is now on hold.
How does that uncertainty make you feel?
Pretty uncomfortable, because it's a thing that I kind of do want to stay here, because I've been in this job now for over a year and I really like it here. So it's I'm wondering can I actually do the career over here? Can I actually progress so far that I could actually maybe possibly look into buying a house over here and actually maybe starting a family and all that. It's
does all that have to stay on hold now?
Yeah, it's like the future's hazy.
Do you consider yourself British?
Yes, I do.
However British these migrants feel, their future here is out of their hands. Olivia Kinsley, 5 News.
Now, while most of us are gearing up for Christmas and other holidays, the film world is already getting ready for its awards season. The nominations for next year's Golden Globes have been announced, and there are plenty of Brits who'll be keeping their fingers crossed. The hugely popular series The Night Manager has done especially well, but a Hollywood musical rom-com about jazz is leading the way. Danny Sinha has all the details now.
Welcome to the announcement of the 74th Annual Golden Globe Award nomination.
Well, it's nearly Christmas, so that means nominations are out for the Golden Globes.
You're fired. It's Christmas. Yeah, I see the decorations. Good luck in the new year.
La La Land is the film everyone is talking about, with 7 nods in total.
You either follow my rules or follow my rules. Capiche?
Thank you.
I can do it a different way.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
The movie is up for Best Musical or Comedy Film, whilst there are acting nominations for red carpet favourites Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone.
Why's you looking at me like that for?
Moonlight is another one to look out for. A young man growing up in Miami during the war on drugs era has received 6 nominations. The life of Queen Elizabeth II has been chronicled in The Crown. It's up for Best Television Series.
You've taken my career from me, you've taken my home, you've taken my name. I thought we were in this together.
No stranger to the Golden Globes, Denzel Washington is up for Best Actor for his gritty performance in Fences.
It's not easy for me to admit that I've been standing in the same place for 18 years.
A former baseball player who ends up as a garbage collector. Tom Hiddleston fans will be happy to hear The Night Manager has fared well in the TV categories, with nods for its main star, as well as Olivia Colman and Hugh Laurie.
I want to put you inside his operation.
That's up against Game of Thrones as Best Drama, with 6 seasons under its belt. But the real drama will begin next month, when the winners are announced. Danny Sinha, 5 News.
Throners versus Hiddlestoners. Going to be interesting. Now, when it comes to traditional British dishes, there's nothing quite like a plate of squid and chips. Yeah, it doesn't really sound right, does it? But that's what scientists are suggesting could soon be the case. They say that climate change is causing our seas to warm up and causing cod to disappear, but allowing squid to flourish. So how would a change of menu go down? Dominic Reynolds went to Ramsgate to find out.
In a changing world, it's nice to know there are some things you can rely on. The greasy paper, the smell of the vinegar, the unchanging traditional British squid and chips. Well, get ready for the fish supper of the future. Scientists say the water off our coasts is getting warmer every year, and that means there are some newcomers in the North Sea.
Cod like cold water, and that means more and more of them are heading north up to Norway. But scientists say in their place we're going to be getting anchovies, sardines and these squid. But is the great British appetite ready for it?
Do you fancy one?
No, mate. I made
Why not?
I made a big mistake a long time ago on
what was
holiday.
That?
Well, I thought it was onion rings and it turned out to be calamari. It's disgusting.
No, honestly, I've just had lunch, thank you.
That's all right, it's delicious.
No,
You look like you're going to be sick.
Yeah.
No, no, please.
This is the
I'm
future.
a vegetarian.
Go on, just have a nibble.
No, my friend might. I won't. Definitely not.
Not even a little nibble?
Not even a tiny bit.
It's got to be cod if it's with chips. It can't be squid and chips.
You look appalled.
I'm disgusted. It's disgusting.
But if squid's going to make it into our national diet, it's going to have to get past Nigel first. He prides his shop on being traditional, and he doesn't see squid squeezing onto the menu anytime soon.
Not taken over from fish and chips.
Why not?
Our English customer, I feel, is more interested in his traditional cotton chips, or plaice or haddock or something like that.
So in Ramsgate it seems no one's too keen to make space for squid in their supper, and on our evidence the scientists are right.
Give that to the birds.
There really is more squid in the sea here than there used to be. Dominic Reynolds, 5 News in Ramsgate.
I like squid and cod as well. Before we go, a quick look at a 5 News special programme coming up in just over an hour's time. Tonight, in the first show in a week of coverage looking back at the biggest stories of 2016, we're going to start with Brexit. That referendum result, which changed the UK's future and left much of the country divided. We'll remind you what happened, I'm sure you haven't forgotten, the effect it has had, and also asking what happens next. It is almost 6 months on now from the vote, when, if ever, we will leave Europe as well. Join me and my guests at 6:30 for the big Brexit bust-up. And get involved via Facebook as well. But that's it for now. Claire Nasir is here with the weather next. I'll see you again for that special at 6:30. Bye-bye.